Hello and welcome to Talks with Kalpana, the Global CXO Spotlight series, where we delve into the minds of industry leaders to explore their insights, strategies, and visions for the future and today. We are honored to have with us Sanjeev Sinha. Welcome, Sanjeev. He's the tech evangelist with global leadership experience of more than 2 decades in BPO, outsourcing, and data intelligence across diverse industries and business functions. Currently, he is the executive advisor to the CEO at Optalis Healthcare and Rehabilitation Centers. Once again, a warm welcome to you, Sanjeev.
Thanks a lot, Kalpana. Good to talk to you.
Same here. So, Sanjeev, let's start with a fundamental question. How can organizations ensure better discipline in managing operations to optimize efficiency and reduce cost?
So, see, a lot of this, you asked a fundamental question, and the answer to this is also some of the basics that maybe everyone knows, which is in terms of setting up robust processes, in terms of having monitoring mechanisms, in terms of having the ability to take quick corrective action, which you find something is not happening as per plan, as per expectations. So doing some of those things right, just the absolute basics is probably the key. Then you can talk about other things, which is, intelligently using technology, seeing where it is appropriate to be brought in, and all of that. But at the core of it is just the basic business processes and the basic discipline.
Yeah, sure. So, balancing innovation with operational stability and profitability is a challenging task. How do you approach this balance?
So, firstly, I would say that it's not a balance. You have to continuously innovate. So it's not that you're balancing innovation with anything. You know that requirements change. Because of technology, you may need to redesign processes. Customers' expectations change. So all across, whether it is for your internal operations, whether it is your customer-facing operations, whether it is the service offerings that you design, all of those are continuously evolving. And when all of these continuously evolve, you have to think in terms of how to keep up with and at some points maybe stay ahead of where the industry is headed, where your customers are leading you, all of that. And so you continuously innovate. You also innovate because you know that your process efficiency very often requires you to continuously study it, make changes, make it more efficient. And that comes from a lot of innovation, from getting ideas from people across the board, senior, junior, staff that interacts with the customers on a regular basis. So you take all those inputs, and that's part and parcel of how you grow and run the business. So I would say that there is no balance here. It's an essential part of running a good, profitable, forward-looking business to continuously innovate as well.
Great insights. So it's more like balancing innovation with operational stability requires a dual focus in a sense. Yeah.
Yes. So to me, innovation is part of what you're doing. You can't just say that, hey, we'll innovate once if something happens, or if we reach this stage, or if some kind of an issue happens. It's a constant process. It's part of how you are doing your business. It's in a way designed into your processes.
Yeah. So what role does technology play in enhancing the operational efficiency and profitability in your industry?
See, technology plays a significant role, especially if you see how the industry has evolved. Firstly, if you look at the BPO industry, a lot of everything that's done, delivered for the customer is done on some kind of a technology framework. Whether it's a call center, whether it's back office operation, whether it's data analytics, any kind of digital services, customer experience that you talk about, technology is absolute. And the technology itself evolves, right? So then you have, you use that evolving technologies, new capabilities to further refine the way you manage your internal processes, as well as you bring in your new service offerings. But then the other thing is, in terms of your day-to-day running of the business, the requirement of good, clean data, the ability to draw insights quickly, and so that they help you take the kind of actions you want. All of that is significantly enhanced by the use of appropriate technology. So technology is absolutely key.
So what are the key trends, which according to you have evolved over the past decade and, shaping the future basically in BPO industry, BPO and I would say outsourcing industry?
Yeah. So, see, I mean, you talked about technology, and that, of course, has been a very, very big part of how the industry has changed. And it's changed both, internal facing, so how you hire, how you train, how you retain people. So all of that uh, has uh, has been impacted by technology. So you use technology intelligently to reduce the time it takes to hire people. You use technology for uh, training people. You use technology for feedback, coaching, all of that. And then there is, the artificial intelligence and machine learning based capabilities that you use for making sure that customer experience is continuously enhanced. One thing also to note is that the customer requirements change. The demographics that you are catering to today, these are people, a lot of whom have grown over the last 8-10 years with the digital technology. So what they are looking for is a bit different from what people were looking for, let's say 10, 15, 20 years back. Or, not even going 20 years back. Things have changed significantly, and therefore, you have to be on top of that.
Yeah, sure. So what are the key challenges and opportunities in managing global operations in the BPO and center sectors?
See, a lot of these challenges are people related. You run a global organization, and most BPO companies would have large teams in multiple geographies, multiple countries: India, Philippines, the US, Caribbean, South Africa. All of these places, you have large global teams that many companies have. The issue then becomes, how do you retain the one company feel, the culture, the look and feel? So there's a lot of the people aspect which you have to manage well, and it's not just the the feel part of it, but also in terms of creating leadership within these geographies, developing people, making sure that across the board people believe that they have a chance to grow, learn, thrive. Okay, so that's a challenge, but I would say that most BPO companies realize that, and I think that over the last 10, 15 years, many companies have done a good job in ensuring that there's local leadership, that enough is invested in getting people the kind of skills that they need, getting upskilling and all of that. Because there was a time, and you would recall maybe 10, 15 years back, when whichever country you are in, especially if you are India's for headquartered BPO firm, your leadership in many of these other companies was also from India. Today, I see many companies having people who have grown through the industry over the last 10, 15 years and have taken on leadership roles. So that's one big challenge from a pure people perspective. The other side is collaboration. So, and there technology comes in. How do you make sure that you have the right technologies and tools so that people collaborate in their work? And there very often what will happen is that, for example, if you are catering to a customer requirement, responding to an RFP or any other need, you have teams from various parts of the world working together. So collaborative technology, tight integration, all of that, and that is where technology also comes in. So the people side, the technology side, if you've grown through acquisition, then making sure that your data is no longer not connected well, because you need to take quick calls. And for that, the integration in data, the ability to synthesize, draw intelligence, all of that becomes important as well.
Yeah, sure. So it's all about, the nature of business your client has, and maybe it could be the challenges which are maintaining consistent service quality across different regions, and maybe also navigating the regulatory complexities.
Absolutely.
Kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, regulatory and legal landscape, uh, the customer expectations, the fact that the quality should be consistent irrespective of where you are delivering from. And as you mentioned, I mean, global, when you talk about a global kind of organization, maintaining that kind of consistency becomes key.
Yeah. Especially with the too many data privacy laws coming in now, the regulation is again a big challenge.
Yeah, every large, geography is coming up with its own data privacy laws, and
so
security being such a concern.
Yeah. So these were the challenges. What about the opportunities? Do you see significant opportunities also, in terms of dealing, working for this kind of a sector, BPO and call center?
Yes, I see significant opportunities. And, before we understand the opportunity, let's also think that over the last 8-10 years, especially, from the time, let's say, automation, process automation, started being talked about and getting implemented in many companies, first for internal processes and then for very client-related, some client-related processes as well. The thinking was that, hey, automation is going to reduce the size of the industry, or many processes would get automated. Then we talked about AI and machine learning, and that again would have an impact. Now, yes, it has an impact, but the impact hasn't been detrimental to the industry. And the reason why it hasn't been detrimental to the industry is that many of the companies that are part of the whole overall BPO landscape have realized that these technologies have to be used intelligently. And when you use it that way, they actually help you rather than reduce your size of the business. And so from a technology standpoint, I see huge opportunities. And that if you harness these opportunities well, what it also does is that your relationship with your client becomes a lot more sticky, because now you are not just providing, X number of people from so many locations to deliver a certain kind of service. You are marrying it well with technology capability, so that your offering is now a lot more complex, but a lot more enhanced. And it leads to significant customer experience. So utilizing those technologies well is a significant opportunity. And that opportunity exists on your efficiency side also. So whether it is, as I mentioned earlier, hiring, training, coaching, ensuring privacy and security, all of those are tech enabled. So those are exceptional, opportunities. And companies have to continue investing, talking to their clients that they are doing something, and maybe trying to then get some benefit of the fact that they have invested in these kind of technologies. There's a challenge as well, which is that a lot of what you see from a new technology that is getting adopted everywhere is the domain generally of the so-called tech players, not necessarily the BPO players, even though the BPO today is very, very tech-enabled. So one question that sometimes might come up is, why should I, let a BPO company dictate my technology? Why don't I go to a tech company directly? So that challenge is there, but I think the answer there is in terms of combining that technology with your service offering intelligently, so that it's seamless. It's so integrated that question doesn't come up. So that's what I see technology giving significant opportunities, and the road forward in terms of how the industry will continue to grow.
Sure. So data analytics has become a buzzword in many industries. How can companies leverage data analytics to improve customer experience and operational efficiency?
Yeah, so see, the good thing about data analytics capabilities are that they allow you to get insights quickly, as long as you have invested in your the infrastructure. Then data analytics allows you to get those insights quickly for your own processes as well, so that you become a lot more efficient, but also insights for the customer. And using both of those, you are in a way achieving two goals here. One, making your own process more efficient. And secondly, you are then also able to use the insights that you've garnered from customer interactions to make the customer understand the value that you're providing, the insights that you're providing. Very often, these are the insights that have come from your customer's customer, because that's the data that you're looking at. So there's a significant opportunity there. And then in the day-to-day running of the business, from your financials, the numbers, the metrics, there again, your data analytics allows you to take some very quick calls, allows you to see trends and opportunities which you can then cash on.
Yeah. So there are so many solution providers available out there. So, how one can actually, decide on that, okay, which are the best solutions and best service providers.
And this, when you say solution providers, are you talking about other BPO service providers or the...
No, the technology, basically.
The technology, yeah.
Data analytics or any other technology.
Yeah, so see, I mean, firstly, in many cases, what happens is, when I say many cases, I mean in many areas of technology, because this technology itself is very, very vast. It's not that there are only one or two good players. There are multiple. So the selection criteria, the partnership that you run into, obviously cost is a consideration. But more than that, it's a question of, what kind of a relationship you already have with them, what kind of chemistry, what kind of partnership. Because ultimately, it's not just a one small transaction. It's a partnership. So, you have to think in terms of a long-term partnership with some of these providers and see what works out best for you. Of course, they should provide you with the technical capabilities that you've been asking for in the first place. But the ability to partner, the ability to then think in terms of joint offerings and stuff like that, they all become critical. So you will utilize all of that in figuring out, how all of that, how that particular partnership works. Some of these players are actually fairly small and nimble. They've come up with very interesting technologies, which is great. But you also have to think in terms of, whether these players have kept up or have reached the point where they have all the certifications that are required, whether it is around data privacy, whether it is, various kinds of regulatory requirements that your clients might have in different geographies. So that again is something that you'll obviously have to have, considered before you decide on who to go with. One more point there, there are some players who provide you a vast range of solutions. There are some who focus on certain areas. So that again is a strategic choice. Do you want to have these best of breed in small areas, or do you want to have a partnership with one large player who covers many of these areas? So those are again, those are the kind of things that companies would focus on, decide where to go.
So as per your experience in the BPO industry, BPO and outsourcing, so what would you prefer? Whether going ahead with one large player, having solutions under one roof, or maybe going as per the different solutions are available, because there's a lot of disruption with the technologies also. And somewhere down the line, it also saves your money, saves the budget.
That's right. See, I'll give you an example. A few years back, when COVID hit, many of the companies in this space had to very quickly figure out how to stay afloat, right? I mean, it was not a question of growing, thriving, at least for the first couple of months. It was just a question of, how do we stay afloat? What happened very, very well for the industry was that they managed not just to stay afloat, but actually to thrive, to grow. But in that space, especially, as you're aware, I was the CIO and the chief digital officer of a very large listed BPO company at that point in time. We encountered a number of small, nimble players. They were ahead of the curve. They had the kind of solutions that some of the larger companies didn't have. And I didn't want to be in a situation where, in the way I am constrained by what one of my larger partners might have. And that wasn't even a choice. We had to find solutions for some of the immediate issues that we're facing. That included things like privacy, security, all of that, not just the kuching and training, which becomes important when people are working remotely and you can't just bring them into a classroom and train. So you're looking at, and we went in for multiple service providers, each specializing in certain areas. And I thought that was a good way to go. And I would still say that ultimately you are looking at, best solutions that you can get. So if there are these smaller players who focus on a particular solution, a particular area, but give you a very good solution, then yes, you have to look at them very, very seriously. Obviously, you have to ensure that it integrates with your overall technology. It doesn't cause an issue somewhere else. But I am not going to say that we just go with some of the larger players. I have found that in some areas, I mean, the larger players have finally caught up and they have come up with solutions. But ultimately, I've found some of the younger players to be far more nimble. They are also a lot more receptive to what your requirements might be in terms of the way they are developing. So it's there are pros and cons of both. But I would go with the solutions that actually fulfill my needs, and they are willing to grow, change, adapt with me.
Absolutely. So, as BPO industry revolves more around the customer experience, so we would like to hear, you being an expert, that in a global multi-channel environment, what are some best practices for enhancing customer experience?
So, customer experience, I mean, there are obviously some people-related aspects as well, which is the training, coaching part, which because especially when in the call center kind of environment where there's still interaction with on the phone, so some of that becomes important. But ultimately, it is technology today. Using AI-based capabilities and machine learning-based capabilities intelligently is extremely important. I think where the challenge comes is in convincing the customer. First, convincing yourself, because at times, if you are using technology, you are actually cutting down on the number of people required for the same job, and therefore a business model which for a number of years had been pure FTE based. How do you make sure that you're not losing revenue? One option, of course, is that you become a good player and you get more business. But beyond that, gain sharing and stuff like that, how do you bring that in? But that aside, making sure that you have a robust process of creating proofs of concepts. So you create a small use case, you try and figure out, if I use this particular technology, what is the impact that I am creating from an efficiency perspective, from a customer experience perspective. And then once you are convinced, then you try and make it on a bigger platform. You obviously have your client with you on especially on these client-facing offerings, simply because without that you can't even check out these proof of concepts, because the data very often is with the client. They own the data, you don't. So that's but trying out these things, figuring out what works, then rolling it out on a larger scale is basically what works, and continuously staying ahead of the curve. See, partnership becomes even more important in this environment, because every new thing that you're trying out requires partnership with the client, not just partnership with the technology solution provider who you have brought in as your partner, because a lot of what you are offering to the client is not just what you have developed, but what you develop in conjunction with a particular solution. So that whole collaborative landscape, which now includes you, your tech partner, and your client, managing that well, introducing good solutions there becomes extremely important. And then coming back to the people side, very quick coaching feedback. How do things change? How do you make something better? Customer requirements keep changing. Your multi-channel is everything tied well together, because just because you offer multiple channels to the customer is not good enough. How well it's integrated, if whoever is the customer, or the your employee interacting with the customer, does he or she have the ability to figure out what happened, not just in the previous conversation, but in the previous email, the previous chat, whatever, because the customer the attention span is no longer the same. No one is willing to wait for a long time to regurgitate the previous interactions and stuff like that. So that integration, the intelligence, the analytics, the insights, all of that are extremely vital.
So finally, what strategies can companies implement to manage and scale global operations effectively and while maintaining high standards of service delivery?
I'm a big believer of doing the basics well, number one, and focusing on creating robust processes. These two for me are the absolute basics, but it's easier said than done. Because if you look at it, on the people side, everyone talks about integration in terms of, creating a one company culture in terms of making sure that each of your geographies are well enabled and all of that. But the focus on that is a continuous thing. It's not something that you did right at the beginning. So that's one thing that you keep working on. The second is in terms of, one thing which we did not touch upon is around KPIs, metrics, and your monthly review process. Looking at your process, looking at the data, the financials, the business reviews, figuring out what's working well, what's not. What are some of the action plans that you need to develop to get back on track? How do you track those action plans? To me, those things are like very, very important for running those businesses, growing those businesses. So we've talked about a couple of things: the people, the culture aspect, the process aspect of running these things, identifying the metrics and the KPIs, and then running these analytics and business reviews and all of that. And then the third dimension becomes technology. It's a continuously evolving landscape. Every single day, week, month, you will have new capabilities coming in. Obviously, you are not going to be changing, at that frequency, but you have to be on top of it. You have to be continuously monitoring what are the new capabilities coming up. What are my customers expecting, and what are my customers' customer expecting? So, and because that is what allows you to stay ahead of the game in terms of new ideas around service offering. So, and that brings in the innovation part as well. So the people and culture part, the innovation and technology part, the your day-to-day running of the business, so the financial management, the KPI and metrics part of it, and so all of that becomes extremely critical. It's an age of very interesting technology. I see the industry growing. I see the abilities that the industry has developed over the last 5-10 years that will help them. And I also see most of the companies focusing on technology-based capabilities. So I think the industry is doing well. There have been challenges in the past. There will always be challenges. But I think what we've seen in the last 5-6 years suggests that the industry has matured. They have the ability to weather challenges and create new capabilities that will allow them to continue to grow and thrive.
Sure. So what are your tech and business priorities of the next 2 years?
I follow artificial intelligence and machine learning kind of capability, especially as it affects the customer experience world. And I see that this is a changing landscape. You will continue to have capability. So that's and so you have to be on top of it. I also believe that we have to continuously think in terms of adding those capabilities into our internal operations. The internal efficiencies that can be obtained, I don't think that we as an industry have reached a point where we can say that we are very, very well placed. So that should continue to be the focus area, and make sure that you have your antenna positioned in such a way, and your teams prepared in such a way that you are always talking to customers. You are understanding what their needs are. You're seeing which technology partners and what kind of capabilities that you would bring to the table can solve those needs. So for me, it's the priorities are to, in a way, try and stay abreast and, if possible, ahead of the curve. Make sure that you are continuously figuring out what new is coming in terms of capability, and how can we integrate it into the service offerings that we already.
Fantastic. So thank you, Sanjeev, for sharing these valuable insights. It's been a pleasure having you on this show.
Thanks a lot. Good talking to you.
Same here. And thank you to our audience for tuning in, and join us next time for more insights from industry leaders on Talks with Kalpana. Until then, stay inspired and keep innovating.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.